Hello Corkies, welcome back to corkandjava.com. Today we're going to be reviewing one of the most, if not the most, popular rye whiskeys on the planet. It's the Bulleit Rye, coming right up. Hello everybody, I am Billy from corkandjava.com. Everybody knows you're supposed to enjoy and get fascination from even the little things in life that most people take for granted. So here at corkandjava.com, we're here to enhance and expand your experience with all of your favorite beverages through wine, coffee, and other beverage reviews and how-tos. So if that sounds interesting to you and you're new here, consider hitting that subscribe button below so you're notified when our future videos come out. So today we are reviewing the Bulleit Rye whiskey. They're known for their regular bourbon, which is a very popular bourbon too. Their normal bourbon is brewed in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky, but their rye is actually distilled in a very large brewery up in the same town named Lawrenceburg, Indiana. And it's a distillery that makes a ton of, I would say, fake craft bourbons and other whiskeys. A lot of the stuff that you'll find in your local stores that look like they're craft are really coming from this Indiana distillery up in Lawrenceburg. But anyway, this is one of the most popular rye whiskeys on the planet, so we gotta give it a shot. It's actually won a ton of awards. And this is one that I've been keeping in my cabinet for my classic cocktails because back before Prohibition, you might not know this, but I think I've talked about it in other rye videos before. Rye whiskey was actually the drink of choice. A lot of corn wasn't as good of a cold weather crop as it is today, and rye grows really fast and it's readily available, so it was cheap for them to make whiskeys out of back in the day. And so a lot of our classic cocktails, pre-Prohibition era, I'm talking about old fashions, Manhattans, drinks like of that nature. If you want to experience it like they did back in the day, you're going to want to pick up a nice bottle of rye. And I think this one is a great one to start with. So let's get right down to giving it a shot. I got a few whiskey stones that I like to use just to chill the whiskey down just a little bit. Typically, my whiskey is stored in my cupboard, so at room temperature about 70 degrees here in the wintertime in Virginia. But with these whiskey stones, they don't make it super cold like an ice cube would, but when you store these whiskey stones in your freezer and you pour your whiskey over it, it brings it down to right about cellar temperature, which is perfect, and it doesn't dilute the whiskey at all. So if you're a stickler for having your whiskey neat, which I'm not, sometimes I'll add a few drops of water. If I'm drinking a larger portion of whiskey, maybe an ice cube is the right amount. Actually, a little bit of water opens up a lot of the flavors in whiskey. But this rye whiskey, it's 95% made of rye and 5% malted barley, I believe. So it's a very high rye percentage. A lot of other distilleries, specifically in like Maryland is where it kind of started. They have more 55, 60, 65% rye, when they'll substitute some corn in there to add a little bit more sweetness. So let's give this one a smell and a taste, and I'll tell you some of the characteristics. So the first thing that comes to mind is spice. It is very heavy with spicy characteristics, really just like a jalapeno would be in your mouth. It doesn't linger on the spiciness, but you're getting a little bit of that spicy heat, but also with like cinnamon, you're getting clove, you're getting honey. You do get a considerable amount of sweetness considering this is made primarily from a rye. It's also very smooth, and it has a nice long finish where, and I'm getting some vanilla and creaminess on the end there. So I get a lot of characteristics of oak, but I don't get what a few other rye whiskeys that I've had punches you in the face with, like a cedar or just a slab of oak, where this one I'm not getting strong woody characteristics, but I am getting a lot of other nuanced characteristics from the oak, like the vanilla, the creaminess, and so forth. I do get a little bit of cedar on there, but it's very light compared to some of the other ryes that I've had in the past. But overall, it's very smooth. It does pack a little bit of a punch, mainly just from that spice coming in, and that's one of the awesome things about rye, and which makes it really great for your cocktails. It has a lot of character in it, and it just really, putting it in a cocktail kind of accentuates the rye whiskey that you're putting in, whereas a lot of other mixed drinks, the whiskey that you're putting in really doesn't matter as much. It's really kind of a secondary element, where classic cocktails, you're really trying to highlight, I think, the whiskey that you're putting in, and you're trying to complement it with some of the other ingredients, such as the bitters and the vermouths and the simple syrups and stuff like that. So that's why I think you should really, when you're doing a classic cocktail, don't go cheap. This is probably about as low as I would go for trying to impress somebody with a classic cocktail. And I would say this is probably like $30, if that. So it's a very affordable rye whiskey. It is a great value. I've had ones that are $10, $15 more than this. Leave a comment down below with what your favorite rye whiskey is. I'd like to know. It can be in this price range, or you can even go up higher. I'd like to know what your just overall favorite rye whiskey is. Oh, and if you're interested in these whiskey stones, I'll leave a link down in the description where you can pick them up for pretty cheap. Make sure to check us out on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Pinterest. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys online, and until next time, bottoms up.